We got a video here by Warren Smith over at Secret Scholar Society. Radio host challenges me to live on there to the best debate of my career. I really like Warren's stuff, so let's check it out.
Radio show like he did, and this was honestly probably my favorite debate I've ever had so far. I found it remarkable how quickly the felony claim against Trump falls apart when you ask a few simple questions.
So falsifying business records is a crime. We know he did that. We also know that there was a $120,000 payment made, a week or two before the elections to try to cover up what took place there with Stormy Daniels.
It was done way ahead of time, and he was cleared 11 months prior to that.
So you don't think there was any criminal wrongdoing at all in this
case?
What
was the criminal wrongdoing?
I'm asking you because
I'm not claiming he did something criminal. So if he did something criminal, what did he do?
I'm not claiming it. A jury found him guilty.
So this is what happened on Tim Pool, though. But if I ask you, okay, but what did he do criminal?
Well, falsified business records, fraud, obviously is one character.
What did he falsify? Where was that? Where did that happen?
Inflating his business records. I mean, you could look that up. I mean, the 34 counts are pretty clear in what he did. Now, I think most people, even Tim Pool would agree that at worst case scenario, these were misdemeanors. And I guess what
did he inflate in regards to Stormy Daniels?
Okay, well, that's just one portion of
that's what he was. There was a singular action. He made a payment to Stormy Daniels. That's the only actual action that occurred. All 34 counts are around that.
And my understanding, it was falsifying records and trying to and some people would use the term, it was campaign finance violations. Mm-hmm. And this was a week or two before the election where
the chairman of the FEC, a prior chairman, came out 11 months earlier when all this was being debated and said this is not against the law. And he was even cleared 11 months later at the federal level. But then the DA of New York, who ran on a platform saying, I am going to get Trump. He said, we don't care. We're going to try it anyways. And that jury with him came to this conclusion. And people are questioning that. So when I'm asking for the evidence, and I can't figure it out, it doesn't.
I'm not a juror. I didn't see the evidence that they saw. But let's just say you're 100, for argument's sake. Let's just say you're 100.
Shouldn't we be able to see that evidence if we're going to call the president a felon?
Well, I mean, you don't see all the evidence in every single case for a reason. Not every trial you get to see the evidence that the jury sees. That's just the way our country works. That's the way our justice system works. In a perfect world, I would say, yes, I agree with you. I think we should probably see all the evidence, but I think we should also probably see the Epstein files as well for the victims. I mean,
that's completely separate.
Yeah.
Well, it's separate, but yet it's not separate because Donald Trump is the president of the United States. He is weaponizing the DOJ, and this is a huge cover-up. This is the way Donald Trump has lived his entire life. And it's like,
but we're diverting away from something very specific right now.
Well, I wouldn't say it's a diversion. I was making the point that in every trial, all the evidence is not released to the general public or the media. That's just the way our courts work. There's nothing. I agree with you. I wish we could see all the evidence. Now, it's your opinion that there was no criminal wrongdoing. That's what I'm hearing from you, that you think this was completely
the evidence that is available indicates. Now, if there's some secretive evidence, if we're going to call the president a 34 count felon, which sounds really good, it's like, wow, it's 34 count. That sounds really bad.
I think it sounds horrible. I think it sounds horrible.
But in terms of political utility, it sounds great, which is a motivating factor in this. Then we should be able to point to some evidence. The same way, if you're going to call J.K. Rowling a bigot or a transphobe, you need to be able to show me something.
Evidence is the through line throughout this entire thing. Because when I ask for evidence of systemic racism, it falls apart.
Logically, equity does not work. So if you understand equity, like if we had 100, let's say we have 100 applicants to be firefighters in my local town, right? Okay. And 50, let's make it simple. 50% are black, 50% are white. They go through the process. Only 8 end up being firefighters are black. The rest of them are all white. Oh, that indicates a problem. How are you going to change that outcome, which is what equity asks for? There's only 2 logical ways. You can either change the standards or allow people through the process that would not otherwise have qualified through that process. You can apply this to any process. Can you think of any other way to achieve a better outcome other than those 2 things?
Well, I would start by saying that there are very few African Americans that are CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. Until recently, there are very few African Americans that were in certain positions prior, not because of their resumes. But I will say this, I just want consistency on this issue, right? I don't think race should be the end all be all for getting a position. I would agree with you there. But I would also say, what do you call some of the people?
Wait. He said he was okay with it.
Donald Trump's administration, for lack of a better term, DEI hires Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who has little to no experience. Somebody like
jumping away from equity. I thought we were talking about the very fabric of equity.
Part of DEI, and I think you're making the case of equity, but a lot of people, and I think you're one of those people that would say, I don't want somebody getting a job that doesn't have the experience that somebody else has, but they get the job because of the color of their skin.
That's one potential consequence.
Okay, so
you've sat down with Don Lemon. Don Lemon sat down with Elon Musk and claimed there's no evidence that equity could put anyone in danger by lowering standards at all. The logic is the evidence. I just laid out this logic for you. It is there is no other way within the laws of logic to achieve this outcome, which is what equity asks for.
I believe that if you have two people that have equal resumes and experience, one person is black, one person is white, I don't have a problem with choosing that person that is black to give them opportunity.
Wow.
I don't know why you would say wow.
Okay, I'll tell you, because first of all, that's never going to happen. There are no two individuals in this world that are identical. Right? People make this argument as though that is possible. You're never going to have two identical applicants. You will always be able to choose someone who is better. There will always be one who is more qualified. You understand that? Even identical twins, they will never share all
the exact same parameters. Yeah,
that's fine. I understand.
Why do you care about race so much?
Why do I care about race so much? Well, I care about people that are discriminated against, whether they be black people or transgender people or gay people. I feel like there's a lot of people in this country that are judged based on race, skin color.
Aren't you judging them by their skin color when you say, I'll choose you because of your skin color?
I want people to be treated as equals, no doubt, but you would agree with me that there is...
You just said you would choose the person because of their skin color. That's not treating them as equals.
Here's why. Would you agree that there's systemic racism in this country?
No.
You don't.
No. You provide evidence of systemic racism?
Sure. So Ahmaud Arbery
was an equity. Equity would be a systemic racism.
So Ahmaud Arbery was lynched by 3 white men. For months, there was not even arrest that was made. The mother was lied to by law enforcement and local politicians in that city. My question to you, if Ahmaud Arbery was white and 3 black men did the exact same thing, do you think there would have been arrests that day, or you think they would have handled it the exact same way?
There's no way for me to be able to answer that question. You could have a corrupt police department in a town,
not
with a
racist,
community that is corrupt.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with
racism. Will always exist at the individual level. When you're talking about systemic,
this is why I like Warren. He's
talking about laws. Can you point to a single racist?
See, the thing about Warren is, like, Warren's style is completely different. He's not like he's kind of like a workhorse. He just kind of keeps going. He just keeps going forward, and he just kind of like stomps through all the mud, right? Whereas like someone like Andrew, he's so sharp in that, like, he really he kind of fucks with the other person, and like he kind of catches them, and he's very like hostile about it. Whereas like Warren is not. So it's kind of really interesting to see like the two different styles of debate. And actually, we'll probably watch an Andrew one right after this.
Law.
I'm giving you
an anecdote. You're giving me an anecdote.
He's not really Destiny. Destiny is a lot more. He's not really like Warren is very, very calm. He's very, very calm, and he kind of takes the logic like step by step. He kind of goes through it like very methodical. Methodical. Whereas like someone like Andrew is like really PvPing the person.
Of insane people.
If George Floyd was white, would the same thing have happened to him?
No way for us to be able to know that.
No way for you to know. Even though the officer was a proven racist who had used the N-word in Derek Chauvin in the past, you think the exact same thing would have happened if they weren't recording? If they weren't recording that, it would have been a police report that said George Floyd was the aggressor, and you don't think it had anything to do with race.
How do you know that? How can you cannot logically know that?
Here's how I know that, because Derek Chauvin and those police officers filed a fake police report. And the only reason why Derek Chauvin is in jail right now is because there were good Samaritans that recorded it. That's why we know that.
How do you know that couldn't have happened if his skin color was different?
I'm asking you the question. You're making the case that if George Floyd was white, you believe the same
I'm
thing.
not making that case. I'm making the case that you're making a claim that is not logically provable.
It's not logically.
You said if his skin color was different, a series of actions, the following actions would have been completely different. There's no way to logically know
All right.
that.
Well, logically, let me go back to Ahmaud Arbery real quickly.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Because
Thank you for
I
the
think
sub.
you're a smart guy. And in my personal opinion, with respect, I think you're being disingenuous in this argument. You're telling me that I'm going to explain. Ahmaud Arbery, an innocent black man jogging down the street, 3 white people literally lynch him. Law enforcement had the video. They saw the video because, as you know, one of those white men recorded it. All of law enforcement there were like 20 or 30 cops on the scene. They all saw the video. Not one arrest was made. They lied to Ahmaud Arbery's mother. And you, hold on, here's the question. And you mean to tell me that if Ahmaud Arbery was an innocent white man in that city, jogging down the street, and 3 black men murdered him, not one arrest would have been made that day? Give me a break.
Logically, there's no way to. I get your point, though. Look, I'm not familiar with that example. It sounds to me like you had racist individuals doing something abhorrent, and that would have to be a deeply corrupt department. You're in the same way you're going to have corrupt individual police.
Thank you, Sagi.
Pockets of police. That does not equate a systemic level of corruption. Though.
Let me ask you another question then, because I guess.
But how am I being disingenuous in this analysis?
Because I think anybody that, in this instance, maybe that is logical, would tell you that if Ahmaud Arbery was white and 3 black men did that to him, that it would have gone down a very different way.
That's not logic. That's thinking in generalities, though.
No,
I think opposite of logic.
I think it's understanding logically that there was racism in that system, in that police department with the police officers and politicians, and they all lied. And I believe Ahmaud Arbery's skin color was a main factor.
It could have been a big factor, but people also, when they do something atrocious, they want to cover it up. They could have done something too atrocious to someone who was white and covered it up in the exact same way.
If you could give me an example of a white person that was killed by 3 black people and they covered it up.
There are many. I can't give you a one-to-one example of that scenario, but there are many white people who are killed at the hands of police every year. What would that be evidence of?
Too.
I'm not making a claim that it's evidence of anything larger.
Okay, well, can you give me an example?
Like what was it? Like according to the crime rate and the capita, if you were to take into account the crime rate between different races and the so the amount that each race commits crimes, and then you take into account the population, as in the amount of people of each race, then you actually find that they actually kill white people more.
Of a time where you were pulled over by police officers because of the color of your skin?
Well, no, I cannot. Now, what would that be evidence of?
I don't think this is funny, actually, because I've actually driven with people who happen to be black that were pulled over for no reason at all, and it's pretty obvious to me. And even Tim Scott and others that are actually serve in DC have told me, and many others, that they were pulled over. They're pulled over 8 to 10 times a year. They believe because of the color of their skin. I absolutely believe. Listen, I'm pro law enforcement.
Good example. Can we talk about this? Because maybe they drive differently than I do. I have been pulled over one time my life.
That's my point.
But
that's my point. You're making my point.
Evidence.
So you think black people as all
an absence of evidence is evidence of something?
This is actually great, because this happens a lot whenever I have a debate with people, and you see a lot of times people they'll be confused as to why I am not making the connection. This is literally why, is because you can explain it through other things. It's not necessary. So for instance, right? In the case of the police department covering up, they're covering up some crime that happened, right? There are multiple reasons in which that could be the case. Or in the specific example, why does his black friend get more tickets, and then and then Warren gets less tickets. Like, why is that the case? Is it because of race? It's a potential factor. Sure, perhaps that could be the case, but that doesn't definitively prove that that's the case, because there could be other explanations. Right? And I always bring this up whenever, there's some kind of debate, I have some kind of argument with someone, is that there's multiple explanations for every issue. It doesn't mean that because it's a possibility doesn't make it the truth or the reason.
Larger.
You think as a whole, black people drive differently than white people?
You can't say, Warren, you've never been pulled over before. Therefore, that's evidence that you haven't been pulled over because you're white.
Warren, I've never been followed in an electronics store because of the color of my skin, because they think I'm going to steal either. Do you understand the larger point that I'm trying to make here? Sometimes black people
if you dress different, if you dressed with your in a stereotypical way, a white person could dress in a way that would set that store owner off.
Yes.
In alarm and be like, I gotta follow this guy. He could be a security risk.
So you think people are following people for? You think people are following other people?
Well-dressed. I think a black.
It depends. It depends on. It really depends on your parents, because people. So, do people know that you're going to steal or not? They don't know. People have to make a. They have to make a prediction based on pattern recognition, right? Because they don't have better information. So, like, in an ideal world. Well, not really. Actually, this is kind of dystopian. Never mind. This is kind of dystopian. But like, say like you lived in a world where you walked into a store and it body scanned you immediately, like, full biometric scan when you walked in, and it immediately told the store owner your criminal record and everything about you, and then it calculated this is the % chance that you would steal from the store, and they were able to do that. Then you could try to, then they would have more information to actually be like, oh, okay, well, that person hasn't committed crimes before, and odds of them are stealing pretty low, right? Then they could use that data. But the thing is we don't have that data in real life, because you don't walk into a store and then they bio scan you and they find like all this information about your history. They don't know that. So what happens is people have to go off of their own experiences, and they have to go off of pattern recognition, right? And does that necessarily mean that it's because a person is black, or does it depend on their clothes? Like, we don't know what the answer is, right? Like, for instance, I know if I were walking down the street and then there was a black person following me with like a hoodie, and they had their hands on their hoodies. They had their hands on their hoodie, that hood on, and they had a big backpack on, and they were walking after me. They were walking pretty briskly behind me. I would be pretty worried about it. I'd be like, oh man, is this guy trying to rob me, right? And you might say like, wow, Leaflit, that's racist. Well, here's where I flip the table on you, because I'd feel the same way regardless of what their race is. Does that make sense? The factors here are the fact that they have the baggy hoodie, their hands are in their pockets, so their intent is concealed, and they have a big backpack on. Maybe they're trying to like rob multiple people, or they're up to no good. I don't know the answer. Now, change that scenario a bit, right? Now, take, for instance, right, a black person who is wearing like a nice suit and like, he's looking like he's looking really nice. I can't really, he has his hands out on it. He has a phone in his hand and he's just kind of walking. That's not going to scare me. You see what I mean? Like you might have assumed that the first case was because he was black, but it's not. The being black is not the factor. The factor is the other stuff, basically. And so now you have to take into consideration, okay, when people walk into a store, well, what kind of clothes do they wear? Right now, you have to take into account the different cultures. And then you have, a lot of people in black culture wear that kind of like loose-fitting clothing. The loose-fitting clothing kind of like, kind of like streetwear, right? And that kind of stuff basically sets people off, because they associate that with, okay, they have a higher chance of stealing because that's what's happened before in the past, right? And again, that's kind of the point. Is like people are drawing conclusions based on these patterns, and it doesn't necessarily have to be race being the biggest factor, but it could be. There's actually it could be. So like I'll give you an example in which like race would be the factor, but then I actually don't really think that it's necessarily racist. It's an issue of like missing information. So say you're hiring a person, and this is a reason why having the data is so important. Say you're hiring a person, right? And you're going to be, your job is sensitive. Say you're like selling jewelry, something like pretty expensive. Like you don't want anyone to rob you, right? Now, say you have a list of hires, okay? And before you could look it up by criminal records. So before you could like look up people's criminal records, you could be like, okay, background check that person, background check candidate A, background check candidate B, background check candidate C. We can see like what's in their history, and then like we can make a determination of like how risky it is to hire this person, right? Now say that the government, because this is what they do, say the government said, oh, you can no longer do that. Now you can't look up anyone's criminal records. It's like, oh, okay. Well, now what do you have to do in order to make an informed decision? Now you're forced to basically go, okay, well, let me calculate the per capita crime rates like within these communities. Right. So now you're forced to basically say, well, if I want like the highest chances of not hiring somebody that's going to rob me, well, per capita, Black people commit more crimes. So now I'm going to have to hire someone else. Do you see like how the lack of information can actually cause that scenario? Which is why it's really important that like the government doesn't like allows you to like make decisions based on data.
Black man who is a well-dressed Black man, likely in most environments is not going to be followed around. Again, there will always be individual racism, though. There are racist individuals.
So you think the major factor of why Black people are followed in stores because in fear of they might steal stuff is not their skin color, but because they might be wearing baggy pants?
There's no way for me to know that. That happens at the individual level. Every store owner has a different reason. They're in a different environment. Different factors are contributing to that decision that they're making.
Yep.
So is Tim Scott lying when he says that he was pulled over 10 times last year because of the color of his skin?
I don't know who Tim Scott is.
Okay, well, he's a representative in Washington, D.C., and he ran for president. I'm just saying I don't know what it's like to be Black. Obviously, you don't know what it's like to be Black in this country either. But I think, in my opinion, I guess this is where we disagree, Warren. Yes, I do think systemic racism exists. I do think that
evidence. Can you point to a single law?
Well, sure. You don't have to point to a law.
Yes, you do. If you're going to claim systemic racism, that's what systemic racism means.
But I've given you examples of why I think Black people are not.
You've given me examples of individual racism.
Well, yeah.
That's not systemic racism.
So you believe that Black people are treated the same as white people in our justice system as well?
They should be, yes. That's the whole, our justice system is designed to treat people equally. That's why I'm alarmed when Trump is not treated equally.
Okay, so hold on. Warren, my question wasn't if you think they should be treated the same. I agree with you. They should. My question is...
There's no way for me to know. You would have to provide me an example of where it's not being applied fairly for me to say it's unfair.
Well, first of all, money is a big factor here. I think we both can agree that if you have legal representation and money,
I agree with that.
Okay, well, in this country, unfortunately, minorities, not as a whole, but many minorities in this country are suffering in poverty. And when they're arrested for certain crimes,
then isn't that an issue of poverty then and not an issue of race? That's what I mean.
They are not treated the same as somebody who has privilege, who has money that can get legal representation and can afford it. So isn't that a systemic issue to begin with? Yeah. Maybe you don't want to apply color.
I work with kids who come from nothing. All right. I've seen them from the worst circumstances. The vast majority in that school were white. So there are a lot of poor people that are of all different skin colors. You're absolutely right that your socioeconomic status is going to influence the kind of lawyer you can get. And I think that is very problematic. I agree with you. It's very strange that if you have enough money, you can navigate the system better. Sure. I agree with you there, but that's not racism.
It's remarkable when someone calls for the banning of assault rifles, but you cannot tell me what an assault rifle actually is. And this is a common misconception, what you're about to see here.
But the most important part of this entire conversation is that you all are calling for an assault weapons ban, and you can't tell me what an assault weapon is.
No, I think there are certain guns, there are certain AR-15 assault weapons, and there are certain other types of weapons that can shoot at a higher volume than certain other weapons. For example, like your everyday normal pistol that some police officers use.
Hey, hang on a second. How? You understand how this works, right? So if my pistol fires the exact same as my AR-15.
There are certain weapons, as you know, higher capacity magazine weapons that shoot at a higher rapid force than other.
Hold up, wait.
Pistol fires the exact same as my AR-15.
Hold on.
There are certain weapons, as you know, higher capacity magazine weapons.
Higher capacity
at a higher rapid
magazine weapon. Higher
force than other certain weapons that are used.
What does that mean, rapid force?
Rapid force. Well, there are certain weapons that are designed to shoot more bullets at a faster rate than certain other weapons out there.
No. Can we just clarify? This is really important. We need to clarify this. I think you're talking about automatic weapons, which are not legal. They're already banned. You're thinking like it goes.
It should be legal.
So, guns, let me get it on camera. Semi-auto, which is what we're talking about. All these. They're going to fire as fast as I can do this. That's the limitation on all of these firearms we're talking about. Do you understand that?
I do understand that.
It's not like this gun can allow me to do this faster.
I do understand. There are certain.
That's your distinction. You're saying that's what's going to determine this, and I'm saying that doesn't exist.
It was supposed to be only about 15 minutes. We ended up going for an hour and a half.
I kind of want to watch the rest
the
of
whole
that.
thing if you want. Brian Shapiro's a cool guy. We have different views, but he's willing to have a conversation.
Dude, I want to watch I really want to watch that. I want to watch that debate here. The full debate here. Let me link you guys Warren's video real quick. But I want to watch some of it. I'm gonna kind of skim through it. I want to see a little bit about the rapid force weapons. You know, I'm kind of interested. Just see this.
Well, I don't know.
That does not equate a systemic.
Okay, fair enough. Now, I'm not saying, Warren, give me all those things. All I'm simply saying is, give me one or two of those things on that. But it certainly didn't help in Uvalde when you had hardcore evidence at all that there was widespread voter fraud. So, Warren, it can't just be that he has a huge ego and he can't admit to terms with to himself that he actually lost. So because he feels like he was mistreated, he's a dictator, and they do, and how our children are being indoctrinated. Listen, I'm not saying if you don't like your neighbor, you should be
strange things being done in the.
I don't have a problem with what you're saying about having armed.
That's a great example, though, man. Because, like, yeah, you're gonna, in the same way you use that example of the corrupt police department being evidence of systemic racism, you're going to have incompetent departments, but that's not most people.
And certain other weapons out there.
No. Can we just clarify? This is really important. We need to clarify this. I think you're talking about automatic weapons, which are not legal. They're already banned. You're thinking like it goes. So guns. So let me get it on camera. Semi-auto, which is what we're talking about. All these. They're going to fire as fast as I can do this. That's the limitation on all of these firearms we're talking about. Do you understand that?
I do understand that.
It's not like this gun can allow me to do this faster.
I do understand. There are certain.
That's your distinction. You're saying that's what's going to determine this. And I'm saying that doesn't exist.
Okay. Well, I would say go back to the early 1980s when there was an assault weapons ban put in place, and you could take a look at the certain types of weapons that were illegal. The violence when it comes to guns in this country went drastically down. And then after Republicans allowed it to fizzle out, gun violence in this country went up. Now, there's some other things that I think we should do.
What were those weapons?
Again, I don't have the list of all weapons that were banned right in front of me. But what I will tell you is, and I guess we can end on this, but I guess this is, for me, this is the frustrating part, right? You sound like you don't want innocent people to be harmed. Neither do I, right? We agree on that. I don't hear any real solid solutions. I agree with you. We should have an armed security guard in every school. No doubt. I agree with you.
Just as much a solution as you've given me.
You said armed security guards in schools.
You didn't say that. How have you given more of a solution than me?
Well, first of all, I said 18 to 21.
Okay, I'm sorry. I forgot that one. I agree with that. I think you should be 21 at least.
I also believe you agree with me that
red flag laws. That's sorry. I was feeling like I was talking to myself.
I don't agree with that one unless you're going to increase the military age to 21. If you increase the military age to 21, then sure, I agree with it. But otherwise, no.
On that, the red flag. I think if you do the work to get help and you address the problem, you should not lose your ability to have a gun. I think that's because it disincentivizes people in that way, and then it causes people to be even more.
Honestly, I would be totally fine with raising the age of legal what do you call it, legal adulthood, I guess, in terms of like, I don't know, I'd have to think about it. But then, like, for instance, like, I think if you want to make it so they can't vote, people can't vote, drink, join the military, or own guns till 21, then sure, you can make the argument. But I think it's inconsistent to say that you can fight for the country at 18 and you're legally an adult at 18, but then you can't own guns. That doesn't make sense to me. Like, that's just arbitrary, basically.
Unlikely to bring attention to where it needs to be brought, because they feel like they're going to lose that ability for life.
If somebody threatened, God forbid, a member of your family and said, "I'm going to kill you," and they went to jail for the night and then got out the next day.
Dude, I gotta use that. I gotta use that more. Warren is so good at that. That's not what we're talking about. Like, what a move. Like, just I'm not talking about that. Let's not talk about that. He just, like, keeps it focused.
Would you be comfortable with that person buying a firearm?
I frequently do this. It's very difficult because you draw a false correlation to characterize what I'm saying as the.
I'm just asking you a question. No, I'm not. It's got nothing to do with something you had said. It's a very specific question.
You were asking a different question. I got
you. No, that's okay. When it comes to, and then we're running kind of later. I've kept you a while. I apologize for that. When it goes to red flag laws in a specific circumstance, and I'm trying to make it personal to get your thoughts on this. If somebody, God forbid, threatened the life of a member of your family, they went to jail for the night for a death threat, would you be comfortable with that person the next day being legally allowed to buy a firearm? Or would your excuse be, well, I think you just need to get help. Let's let this person get help.
No, under my model, you wouldn't be able to buy it the next day. And
okay, so we agree. Then we agree. I'm just saying that
lots we agree on. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I would love to do this again more, and I do appreciate anybody.
Thank you for having. It was fun. It's fun. You're a cool guy. Thanks for taking the time. And if you ever want to do it, is this live on YouTube?
It's live everywhere, my man. It's live everywhere. I'll shoot you an email with the interview afterwards, my friend. And I appreciate you coming on, Warren, and give out your YouTube channel before I let you go.
Oh, Warren Smith, Secret Scholar Society.
Yeah. Warren, I appreciate your time, my friend. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Have a good one.
All right, interesting.
You too. I apologize to everybody. This is a Friday where I did not have enough time to take calls because now the beautiful.
That's interesting. All right, let's go on to the next one. I'll link you guys this one too if you guys want to see you guys want to see the full interview. Adult age should be 16, says Skills. FBI open. Well, I mean, the thing is, historically, it's actually been I think I'm curious, when did 18 come? Hold on, I'm actually gonna look into this. I'm actually curious. When did the number 18 come up? Because historically, that wasn't always the case. It's a very, very interesting line of questioning, I think. What made us decide on 18? Because historically, it was lower than that. And then we have some rules that, like, only apply, like drinking age, right? Being higher than 18. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, what made them pick that? Like, I feel like it would be higher. English common law. Oh, fuck. Really? It used to be, guys, no. It used to be 21. Wait, who did this? Okay, so that's why drinking age is 21. Because the age of adulthood used to be 21. It was lowered to 18 because of the 26th Amendment. July 1st, 1971. Because 18-year-olds were able to be drafted into military service, but lacked full adult rights like voting. So you're telling me that they wanted this so they could draft people? They just wanted to draft more people. I see. That's why.